Greetings, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Anime Anticlimax, the show where we discuss various anime antics. And who better to perform anime antics than Lupin the Third? But to tell us a little bit about their selection, we have I don't know.
Hi. We are visiting the 40th anniversary of Lupin the Third, as it's slowly encroaching upon its 60th anniversary. This is the Lupin film that sort of brought us into the modern era of Lupin. More character story driven, less just simple antics. And, well, this is in some ways a traditional Lupin, but also a very non-canon movie. Let's see what the others have enjoyed this or not. Jacob, we'll start with you.
Okay. Well, this is my second, I guess in fairness, I should say my second attempt at watching this movie. It got a little bit of buzz when it came out, and I remember watching it, but I picked up the copy that was released, I believe, by Eastern Star / Discotheque. In honesty, I had very little memory of it from the first viewing, and part of that is because I'm pretty sure I slept through half of it. So this time around, I was able to stay awake for the whole thing. I'm sure I'll have a better recollection of it this time around. I'm not going to put this on the film that I slept through it the first time. I think it was just an off night. Like I was trying to watch something and really I probably should have just gone to bed, one of those nights. And of all the Lupin stuff, the what is it? The Mystery of Mamo, I think it is the one that I do find mostly forgettable. Except I think that was the one where we got a peek into Lupin's brain and saw that it was all women. That was like it. That was everything. And that was pretty funny. But the rest of the movie I've forgotten completely. And this is definitely a lot better, a lot more entertaining than that. But it's weird. The movie, as you said, you can't really look at it as canon because it's too nonsensical. It is more character driven, it is more dramatic than the older Lupin movies, but I feel like there's enough plot holes here that you could drive a truck through. The story does not hold up, and maybe if I watch it 2 or 3 times it'll come together better. But on this viewing, if I was sitting there thinking like the writers must have been on acid or something, it is kind of a trippy premise and kind of a trippy setup. But it's also kind of fits into the whole multiversal concept where it's not obviously a multiverse, but it kind of is. There are little nods to all the different Lupins throughout history. And in fact, I think the picture I took, I think is actually a nod to Nabishin, who famously dressed like Lupin much of the time.
It's definite not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Down to the robot.
Right. So it's a very, and yes, they do even have a mech in this damn movie. So it's like, it was literally, they kind of threw everything at the wall to see what would stick. And it's an interesting movie. It is fun. I think the weirdness of it may have been also part of the reason that I couldn't get into it the first time. Like I said, I was too tired to really focus on something so strange. But as sort of a absurd, as sort of an absurdist homage to 40 years of Lupin history, I think the movie does a pretty fun job of that. It is sort of an interesting linchpin between the old and the new, because I've seen a little bit of each. I'm not a huge Lupin expert, but I've seen some of the old stuff and I've seen some of the new stuff. And yes, there is definitely a difference tonally, structurally. There is a difference, and I can see how this one kind of fits in the middle. It's interesting. I'm glad I had an excuse to watch it again, and now I can definitely say, yeah, I've seen it, and not just say, yeah, I sort of saw it. But one of these days I do need to make a Lupin deep dive and actually watch a lot more. But, it's fun to visit them now and then. And it is one of those series where even though this one, I think you get more appreciation if you know some of the references, most Lupin stuff is fairly self-contained, and as long as you know the basic gist, you're good at any of them, really. So
pretty much anything before this movie is self-contained.
Right. Yeah. They became a little more interconnected, I guess, after. I've seen The Woman Called Fujiko Mine, and that's definitely an extended narrative that hangs together as one.
As is, I believe, 4 and 5. Seasons 4 and 5, which is ironic that you have a series that their seasons are like decades apart.
Yeah, and they're wildly different too. Like season 2 was huge.
Season 2 was massive.
And then and I've not really watched much of the show at all. I've mostly seen the movies and specials, and even there, I've maybe seen a third of them, but they're scattered throughout the history of the show. So I've seen bits and pieces, but one day I'll, like I said, but it's fun to visit them. And this one is a decent entry point. Cagliostro is probably the best entry point for the series, but this one's probably high on the list if you were just to pick one out of a bag.
if you want to go, if you want to go with the sort of Academy movie direction, Cagliostro is definitely the point to start with Lupin.
And there are direct references to it in here too, so that's
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
he's even watching it.
Right.
Yeah, he has it on the movie poster. All right, Dave, welcome.
Hey,
what is your opinion on this?
well, some time back, I was introduced to Lupin the Third on our channel because once we had Brandon finally become a member of Inside Movies Galore, we did some anime at one point in time, and he started me out with Cagliostro. And then on my own, I found a copy of Mamo.
The true first film series.
And watched that one. And because you finally chose one that I could actually access, I watched Lupin the Third, Green versus Red. And my thoughts on this, because there were so many duplicate Lupin the Thirds getting arrested throughout the film, kind of reminded me a bit of Doctor Who, just a little bit, because Doctor Who is always like interchanging. So the fact that they brought all these different Lupins together in one is kind of like a sci-fi episode, So,
Right.
And of course, you got some other stuff happening in between, like the transplantation of a crime lord's brain into his child, which is an interesting thing. And then, of course, you got the two women that seem to be obsessed with Lupin. One wants to be his criminal partner, and the other wants to get his ass in trouble because, I guess, he stinted her or something like that. That in the past, you got that timeline going on. So, I had a hard time figuring out who was the real Lupin for a time, maybe because it is weird.
Well, most of the it's still really a guess at
Right.
I mean, the lead theory is that it's the old man.
Right. It could be.
It is the old man.
Is you don't want to be on the wrong side of the secret military
Right.
thing because they definitely are not playing game.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I did enjoy this entry, and I wouldn't mind checking out other story arcs, like from the movies before I do a deeper dive into like Lupin and the series, because from what you guys tell me, there are massive things
I'll be right back.
dealing with the series.
The first, second, and third, they're kind of like a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Yeah.
Where it's not canonically that important from episode to episode.
Right. I once heard Lupin described as Japan's answer to Bugs Bunny, and he does have a lot of similarities in a way. It's kind of like if they made Bugs just a little more grounded and not an anthropomorphic rabbit, then that's pretty much, I could see him just kind of saying, what's up, Doc? And you could hear a Zenigata go, "Ooh, that wascally whoop on."
Pretty much. It's so formatic from the 1960s to current day that even though they've added characterization and development of each of the characters
Right.
Throughout different storylines, that it's still you have a caper, you have issues, more than likely get betrayed by Fujiko at some point.
Yes.
And Zenigata maybe gets betrayed by or kicked out of Interpol and somehow has to work with Lupin at some point. And that's pretty much how any Lupin movie or TV show goes to this day.
More or less. Like, I think the most recent one maybe is the one that came out last year that I watched, the Lupin the Third versus Cat's Eye, which Cat's Eye being another long-running franchise about a trio of jewel thieves, art thieves, who are trying to basically piece together their father's collection. And there's a detective dating one of them who's also chasing them. And in that one, they end up teaming up with Lupin while the detective is teamed up with Zenigata. And it was a fun little caper type movie that brought together those two different franchises.
Two obsessed detectives in one.
Exactly.
On one team.
Right. I did I want to mention, I forgot to mention, I was highly amused that what really set off all the Lupins and really pissed them off was that one of them had the temerity to get arrested for shoplifting.
No, yeah, he was a pretty
That's not Lupin.
It's a nod throughout the opening that we see multiple, and it is literally multiple drawings of different Lupin through film and television. All
Even
right,
the
Brandon.
wacky ones. So yeah, this is definitely not my first watch of this. I believe Brittany showed it to me and maybe to Jake. Did we watch it at your apartment? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Well, like I said, I know
Either my apartment or Jack's.
2008 was a little ways ago.
Yeah.
But as far as it's concerned, I mean, I like the action. I like the animation. Very good there. Obviously, this wants to be Castle Cagliostro with all of the nods, including the musical nods to it. It's overly ambitious. Matter of fact, I will say that I think it's too ambitious. I think it was doing way too many things for the runtime, and therefore ended up only doing a little of everything, and ended up being nice at parts, but confusing in others, and definitely a mess for me. But I did look through it, and I was trying to make sure I got everything correct. I mean, I read a lot of the stuff about the idea that the younger Lupin is the Lupin in Part 5, which I don't know whether it's true or not. I didn't hear. Monkey Punch has passed, and I don't know if there's any official word from him on it. That's the only authority I can give with 100% for Lupin, at least any Lupin made prior to his death. And I believe this was made prior to his death because he died in 2020 something.
2019.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
April.
wow. So, but
They're still coming out with stuff. So
oh yeah, that's the thing, is it's still coming out, and I'd say anything after that, I'd say whoever created it would then be the one. But there's a lot of good nods. I mean, Navashin's nod, and of course he would be piloting the mech. And it is interesting because you have the more traditional Lupin, which is the red Lupin, that would normally come across as the main one, but they start a real interesting dynamic and timeline with all the copycats and so on. Like I said, I don't know whether I like it or not, but I do feel like this movie was trying to be 2 or 3 movies at once, and instead just showed like basically 3 disjointed episodes that they kind of loosely clung together. I'd even be willing to say that the whole weird nuclear thing, they didn't need to go that far to try and make those additional statements. I think they did that just so they could say that they were artsier, so they could be like Cagliostro. But
it is an interesting sort of heel turn to make this gem that they're after to be plutonium.
yeah, it's like I say, I think that there's a lot that's done right, but I really feel that they really were trying to grab a reach for the moon and didn't quite reach it. They threw a little bit too much into this, but otherwise it's not a bad Lupin 1. And I haven't watched a lot of Lupin after this era. I have a lot of Lupin. I'm not gonna lie, I've watched a lot of season 2, for instance, but I really need to, once all my movies are back on the shelves again and not scattered all over the place like they are right now, I will have to actually just sit down and start watching all the Lupin I have. I mean, I just actually got a Lupin 1 in the mail that sold out before it even reached street date, which is the Italian game.
It's a lot of episodes you're in for if you do that. I'm looking at 23 season 1, 155 season 2.
Season 2 is a hard one.
50 episodes of season 3. That's before we get to the modern Lupin.
So I've got all of the seasons that are out, and I think they finally caught the seasons up in America for the release. Tech has done a great job.
Season 6 would have been the last.
Yeah, so they've got season 6 out there, right?
Well, technically,
I've got season 6.
Technically, the prequel should be the last.
Well, you mean Lupin 0, which I also have, but
yeah.
but yeah, I've been eager to get. It's sort of like One Piece. I want to eventually watch it, but the size of it is definitely daunting. But the good thing about Lupin is that's one that I can pick up a thing. Even, and I've watched some of the ones that are attached like that, like Fujiko Mine. Even then, on its own, it's still watchable on its own, and it can connect. But it's not one like, say, a lot of the Marvel films saying you really need to make sure that you've watched all 50 episodes of this and 100 episodes of that in order to truly understand our films.
I've been going through some of the Marvel the last 2 weeks on my own, and it's like, ugh.
I finally dived into the Netflix ones, and I've gotten through Daredevil and Iron Fist, and now I'm on to Punisher.
Working on What If now, and we'll have to go back to Agatha along, and then probably Daredevil.
I mean,
it comes out.
The Netflix ones weren't bad, except for a lot of people hate on, what is it? Iron Fist.
Which it wasn't that bad. I mean, but yeah, whatever.
Not bad.
Iron Fist is basically Succession, the Marvel series.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe that's why they hated
it. I think a lot of people didn't know that Danny was white. Well, I mean, a lot of people didn't know much about Iron Fist for years, and I guess a lot of people assumed he was Asian. Like a lot of people think Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe is Asian, but he's white. But yeah.
Different times. All right. Well, I guess we'll get into the plot, such as it is.
Well, I mean, essentially, as we said, this is a bit of a nod. At the beginning, we see an army of Lupins. A lot of them aren't skilled, as we saw with the pickpocketer or the shoplifter who gets arrested.
Which a lot of them called the shoplifter like stupid, and why would they even get caught like that? You know?
Yeah. I mean, as much of this film shows there was one thing we didn't really get out of this movie that almost always happens in the Lupin, and that is the face mask change, where Lupin disguises himself as somebody, pulls off the rubber mask, a la Scooby-Doo.
He doesn't pull off the rubber mask, but he does do a disguise portion in the movie where he does disguise himself as Zenigata.
Right. And also the fact that you have all these people with his face kind of, I guess, might be a play on that too, I would imagine. But it is interesting that the movie puts forward the idea, and I guess this might be to Dave's point of like Doctor Who. I mean, I'm totally a noob when it comes to Doctor Who, but the whole idea that it's more like in this movie, the premise seems to be that being Arsène Lupin III is a title more than a specific person.
Like the original Casino Royale.
Right. Well, yeah, like that. Like James Bond is more of a title, yes.
This movie is very reminiscent of the Doctor Who episodes that are out there, particularly of the 10th Doctor, needing other versions of the Doctor, like the 11th and the 12th, where they kind of nod to all the other Doctors that came before. Yeah. So yeah, this movie definitely has that Doctor Who vibe there for those.
I do find it weird how they kind of present it as Lupin has been there for a lot longer than that, but that would also mean that characters like Zenigata, Goemon, Jigen, and Fujiko are all super old, and they do hint. Jigen at least has hinted that he is super old.
Right.
So you know,
It's a running gag that Jigen's the oldest out of the 4 thieves. Then he got up, I believe, is the oldest out of them all, canonically.
which is
But
kind of funny because the retired Lupin looks the oldest.
They keep doing what sort of the Simpsons have done, which is keep pushing that backstory forward and being like, no. They were alive in the they were kids in the 90s, even though the Simpsons started in the 90s.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah. Because I think now, currently, Jigen's supposed to be a Afghanistan war veteran from the recent Afghanistan war. So, and not, I think he was supposed to be like well, he went to World War II because he comes from the 60s. So I would think probably maybe Vietnam War.
Yeah, well, it's I mean, considering that Jigen first appeared in the 70s when the series first appeared, I guess he would have been a Vietnam vet, or, well, then again, it was Japanese. Did they have Japanese Vietnam vets?
I mean, given America was using their bases at the time, they probably had a few
Maybe.
Japanese soldiers at the time.
I mean, I do also like the little dig that he says, reminds me of my childhood. And then he's like, what was it? I was like, I didn't realize you were Japanese or something like that because
Which is ironic.
Supposed to be like this.
Yeah.
If you watch Lupin Zero, Lupin and Jigen are Japanese. They went to school together.
Right.
Now, there's no, note that they started sort of like in the 60s to 70s era Tokyo. Sort of still revitalizing from World War II, but, it's...
So here's a question. You know these fan theories, or actually legit theories, better than I do about this, because I was just diving in a little bit today and doing some research while I could. So according to what I have read, Yosef, what is his name? The young one, the green one.
The green one?
Yeah.
Yosef?
Yeah,
I think so.
He was supposed to be the Lupin in part 5.
Yaso.
Does that mean
Yes,
that Red was Lupin in part 4?
Technically, if this movie were canon, yes.
The problem is it's hard to say whether it is canon or not. Actually, it's been said it's not canon, but that's not always true what people say. Sometimes weird things happen.
It's not canon. I mean, what it is a acknowledgement of the voice actor and for Lupin and Fujiko. Yaso is the name of the original Lupin voice actor, and his girlfriend is the name of the original voice actor for Fujiko.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here in the US, if you listen to the dub, it's always been the same cast. But there's no dub of this movie in quite a lot of the movies.
That's the one I got used to, was the English dub version of Lupin. And for some reason, well, I guess when you're introduced to a voice when you're fairly young, because I first watched Lupin in my late teens, when you're used to a particular voice, that becomes the character to you.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like Lena will always be Lisa Ortiz to me, just like I know to Jacob it will always be Megumi Hashibara.
I mean,
yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to get Lupin. Okay. Tony Oliver, who also did the voice of Rick from Macross, and Richard Epcar, who is a legend in voice acting. They played this role since they've been releasing Lupin. So, I mean, the actors in the dub have not changed, but the actors in the sub have, because you're talking almost 60 years here. I don't think we've started getting the dub until Cartoon Network released them publicly.
Not to mention, we got that crazy, fun live action film back in the 70s, again.
Yes, we did.
I love that.
I mean, if we covered a live action, it would be this or City Hunter that I would absolutely say we should watch.
You know what we should do is we should take like one of these a month and just do live action adaptations of anime.
I mean, I don't disagree.
It'd be nice if more of those.
Really good live action. There are some really good live action.
Right, but there's so many of those that never make it over here, and it's very disappointing. It's like
no, there's some good ones really have made it over here. I mean, the Kenshin movies, for instance, are amazing. The Lupin movie and the City Hunter movie are so bad they are hilarious, and
City Hunter is iconic because it's a Jackie Chan.
Yes. It's also iconically bad, which makes it even better. I mean, the fact that he's transforming into Street Fighter characters because he got zapped by a video game later in that.
I mean, the Gintama movie's great. We'd have to fight over which version of Death Note to watch.
I actually do like the Japanese live action version of Death Note, the original one, too, because I think that they fixed the issue that, to me, was with the anime. Because I hated the whole Mello and what's his name, and I actually liked how they retconned it and kind of removed them altogether, and played it as the ultimate chess game at the end. So I thought that they did a good job of getting around that. Making.
I mean, that wouldn't be a bad idea to look into live actions. I mean, we could hit the Cutie Honey series.
Oh, that's
that was really well.
But I guess back to so there were two plots I could see, and maybe a third. Really, I'd say three, because one, you're looking at Yosef really becoming Lupin, understanding what it is. You've got all the Lupins trying to kind of fight over who is going to be the true Lupin successor, which gets into that. And then you've got the weird Ice Cube story, which is kind of the thing that they use as the benchmark for that, but then takes a weird turn into weird American-Japanese atomic bomb conspiracy theories.
with an ultimate old school duel, like at the end of it all.
That you never get to see the end of.
No, but it's still badass to see them drive off at each other on top of a building.
Oh, yeah. And I like the animation change that they did.
Yeah.
Oh, black and white.
Yeah. Well, it's more of
like
sketchy.
Yeah.
Black and white. Anime kind of does that at points, particularly when they want to get some real hard action in a scene. One Piece does it twice, and I think both times are when Luffy is super pissed and punches somebody. But
I think I'll re-dive into One Piece once that series is finally completed, like 20 years from now.
It's gonna be sooner than 20. It's gonna be sooner than 20. It may be 10. It's already past Oda's last 5 years state. But
it's supposedly in the last storyline, but who knows how long that could take.
Right. And then
usually 4 years per arc, and it's a big battle at the end, so we're probably looking at 10 to 12.
Yeah.
From here.
So and about that time,
got the rebooted series to keep the ball going.
And the live action.
Well, the reboot's actually to cut out the filler from it too. So
I thought there wasn't any filler.
And be more violent.
That was supposed to be one of the claims to fame, is that there's hardly any filler in
it. It's not filler like Naruto or Bleach, where it's whole episodes or storylines of filler.
More timing, I guess.
More fill out like a fight. scenario.
It's filler. Like each episode has 5 to 15 minutes of recap.
Oh Lord, yeah, cutting out
Yeah,
the recap was half the series.
I mean, it's not as bad as Hitman Reborn with recap, but yes.
I just got the collector's disc for that one.
For the whole of it, Hitman.
Yeah,
Jeez.
they had a special fan disc that just came out Tuesday that has the OVA on it, and it has.
I just remember one episode was like 8 minutes of recap, and I was like, "What the hell?"
Apparently, it has a new English dub too that they're trying out.
What? Somebody dubbed it?
Yep.
Okay, I gotta get that. I want to hear the dub.
177. They've got the example of the dubs.
All right.
But back to Lupin.
Back to Lupin.
So yeah, the plutonium slash ice cube. Ice cube is what it's called. They think it's a diamond. Turns out to be some sort of specialized plutonium.
Mm-hmm.
That's your typical caper for Lupin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You get that in pretty much any Lupin series or movie.
I think if they'd made the entire movie around that, it would have worked better for that. If this is like maybe, or if they had taken the movie and they'd maybe added 30 minutes to it.
Yeah, it's a pretty short movie. What is it, 80 minutes? Or
it's an OVA.
Yeah.
It's not like a theater movie.
Special. But yeah.
But
well, it's still
we
plenty
noted,
long. Like I know Japan has a history of releasing plenty of movies that are shorter than this one.
Well, I mean, this came out with one of the biggest in-your-face sponsors.
Yeah.
McDonald's.
There was a McDonald's tie-in at the time this movie came out. I think they had in Japan. You could get the red burger or the green burger.
I thought it was hilarious.
Who you feel?
Was the burger dyed yellow?
No, I think it was like one had like tomato sauce and the other one had green chilies.
Oh, I thought you meant like the buns, because I've seen them do that, like dyed buns.
Yeah, I was gonna say they've done that.
This was before they dyed the buns. So yeah.
This is the first one to actually feature McDonald's. The first Lupin to do that. I think the only one.
It might be the only one. Anime's not strange to tie-ins.
Yeah.
Like I've been telling, Brandon and Jacob in chat.
Mhm.
I just watched Uncle of a New World Uncle of Another World on Netflix, and they have a tie-in, huge tie-in with Sony, but they also have a tie-in with Amazon Prime for a Netflix original.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. It's not at all uncommon in anime to see variations on McDonald's, like Wackdonald's or whatever. It is rare to see it like this is clearly
actually
McDonald's.
advertised.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Free
it was actually advertised. I mean, it's code not Leo. I'm forgetting the name. There's Domino's is a regular sponsor in films,
Right.
and series. I know Erased Domino's is in there. So yeah, it's Code Geass. Code Geass has it as well. A huge tie-in with Domino's.
I don't remember that.
More their sequel movie. They had Lelouch pizzas.
Okay, I still haven't seen the movies. I need to do that.
Yeah, I need to watch them too. I just got a very small collectible set.
It's tiny,
so,
easy to overlook.
Yeah, you can see it on one of the episodes on this channel. I did an unboxing of it. If you all are interested in the special box set, that is probably finally selling out.
I so need to get some stuff. I really do. I'm waiting for some money to come in. But yeah, the stories I do feel this movie kind of just ham-fisted the 3 stories to try and fit in. The American to the company, I really don't think we needed that moment because we don't see the kid after the missile's blown up or hits him.
That was weird. They gave this kid a backstory and all this. They put some effort into it, and then they kill him.
Backstory. This guy is dying of cancer, so he has his own kid be his host. He basically sacrifices his own kid so he can keep on living. And it's like, yeah, I don't really care what happens to this asshole.
For me, I feel like there's a part of me that feels like they put in the pointless backstory as a joke or as a play on it.
Could be.
To me, I feel like there is a bit of this that's an homage to Cagliostro, and there's a bit of this that is mocking Cagliostro. I hate to say that, but I do feel like that sometimes in this.
I mean, I watched another Lupin movie that came after this recently, and the villain in that was American, and I was thinking very much of the same character with the American in this movie with that movie. Only difference was the American was trying to become president by being the weapons manufacturer, become president of the United States, and had a secret base above Hoover Dam. And it's like, it's not really much of a secret if you could see it from Hoover Dam.
True that. Maybe it might be
places there
under or behind the dam somewhere,
but considering the way the English is portrayed in this, I don't think that they really did much study of the United States anyway.
It wasn't terrible. I've heard far worse, and I've heard far better.
Gimpican so far is my favorite of the English voice acting.
Oh, jeez.
The actor they brought in did speak English and did put a little bit of emotion into his acting, but he was like the most wooden acting I've ever seen in an anime for a while.
phoned in English is always funny.
Yeah. Clearly there was some sort of issue with the direction, and that, which I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised when you're talking about 2 different languages trying to be directed.
This whole thing could have been an entire season of Lupin. And you could have had it in 3 parts. You had the first part where it's just like all the various Lupins and Zenigata trying to figure which one is the real one, and then putting some background into it. Then the second part could actually be about the kid finding out about his connections to things and him deciding to join into it as most of the other Lupins are being arrested. And then the final can be this entire weird diamond thing and diamond/plutonium thing with the last 2 basically remaining finally facing off at the end.
Well,
I can see that.
4, 5, and 6 all did 3-part formulas. So yeah, I'm not surprised. Since they came after.
I really think they could have done that, and not only that, I do think that it would have taken off as canon pretty well if they had gone that way.
Yeah. I mean, there is. I gotta look this one here. I know there's a Lupin Part 7.
Wouldn't surprise me.
But it came out before. Came out in 82. Which was supposed to be a French and Japanese co-production that was supposed to be the grandchildren of, or the great-grandchildren of Lupin, Jigen, Goemon and such.
Well, in theory, one could say that Casa Cagliostro was mentioned so much because it was meant to be the end of the series.
Yes.
And if Miyazaki had his way, Lupin would have ended at Casa Cagliostro and wouldn't exist past that.
But when you make something successful, movie productions want more.
Yep. It then became a money cow.
Well, which is okay. Lupin is a self-writing machine, really. It's one of those that
He is one of the more
Yeah.
recognizable characters of Japan. Yeah.
So yeah, if it stopped at Casa Cagliostro, it would be known, but it would be nowhere near as famous as it is now. As it is, you can always put Casa Cagliostro at the end, and one could say Casa Cagliostro could have taken place like right before this, and that could have been how he left and retired. Other than the fact it was a movie in this universe. Oh my goodness.
All right. Let's see. We're gonna flip around a lot. I mean, let's address the Shintaro Watanabe / Nabashin character. Because he's one of the only Lupins that we really get for a little bit.
He's the best one.
The Afro Lupin is what he is essentially.
Right. It's good time.
I don't know if Watanabe was like, I want to be in this film.
Oh, they should have just gone full Watanabe on that. Had him pull out a couple of bazookas from his afro.
Not pulling out weapons from his afro would have been just like the last pin in the needle for it. But giving a nice nod to the director of Cowboy Bebop, Excel Saga, and several other series, who is known to wear around the red suit of Lupin when he goes places and has his stereotypical afro.
Everything's better with explosions. We've gotta cover that one day, Dave. If we do Excel Saga, you will have to join us for that one.
That is definitely a weird one.
Indeed.
I'd have to somehow own it or have access to it.
We can get access to it for you. I'm sure we can find it.
It's one.
Considering I know the main voice actress, I could probably find something.
It's actually one of the first full anime series I showed Jake.
Yes, indeed.
Good example of anime of all anime. Yeah.
What's it called?
Yeah. I can't argue.
Excel Saga.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see. I mean, we've touched upon the merchandising. We touched upon the story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's really not much to say. We haven't really gotten into Yase and his girlfriend. He's the main focus aside from the typical Lupin characters.
Right.
Of this chef / bored out of his mind teenager to adult Japanese individual who basically on a lark starts imitating Lupin, becomes good at pickpocketing, and goes from there.
He also has a girlfriend who's a local reporter who bears a passing resemblance to Fujiko.
The doubt there's her figure, because Fujiko is a very infamous figure.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said,
she aged really well.
I mean, it's like I said earlier, it's a nod. His character and then his girlfriend's character are knowledge to the original voice actor and voice actresses.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, anybody have anything they want to say about them?
I felt like I really felt like a lot of them were kind of to the side. Zenigata, out of the side characters, was the one I felt was sidelined the most. They were given fan service so that they were there, but I feel like they definitely didn't have much of an involvement other than onlookers.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, Zenigata usually plays a larger role. Throughout Lupins.
I'd say of all of them, Goemon was probably the most sidelined. But
yeah, I mean, he was kidnapped in the back of a helicopter.
Goemon usually does.
Yeah.
There is a Goemon series, but just like there's a series for everyone but Jigen, or not Jigen.
Well, Jigen had a movie, right? Like,
yeah,
Jigen had a movie. Fujiko had a series.
Yeah.
Goemon had a movie. I think it was a movie. Maybe it was a series. Zenigata is the only one that hadn't.
I know,
but
what's wrong with that? Zenigata would be a perfect protagonist for a series. See him actually be successful for once. Because if you compared him against any other villain other than Lupin, I have a feeling that he would be able to take him down. Even Lupin has been taken down. He just gets away.
Not long after they made this, they brought out the Lupin versus Detective Conan movie.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when they started introducing Zenigata having a partner. And they would switch back and forth who the partner is, but they give Zenigata more, of an actual, I'm an Interpol agent. I have, assistants under my wing.
And one hell of a handcuff ability.
Oh, dude is the master of handcuffs.
There is definitely some submissive, dominant stuff going on in the back bedrooms of that detective.
Knowing Zenigata's role, usually he's like the most milquetoast of characters.
Yeah.
He does adopt a daughter out of one of the five or six, I think. Oh no, yeah, it's 6. Lupin 6. He adopts the daughter. Out of that, just to get her out of the situation that Lupin's trying to get her out of. So, but yeah, this couple, I do feel, while I have a little bit of a love for this film, a lot of it is just, here's the what if, the non-canon storyline, and it's enjoyable, but it's not the greatest of Lupin stories.
Right.
I mean, these days, I don't even know if I give Cagliostro the better story. I give it a great film. But I feel since then they've been getting more into the characters and giving them more depth. I feel the newer ones do have a little bit better storyline.
Okay.
Anything else anybody wants to talk about this film?
There's just a lot going on.
Right.
Yeah, it's a busy film.
Yeah.
I'll say
I'd probably almost give it a second watch, to be honest.
I'll just throw it out there.
Watched multiple times.
One thing they had going on that was kind of interesting, just kind of, I guess, just to kind of parallel the main, green versus red plot and whatnot, is that Yasuo, I guess, runs a restaurant that's called Greenhouse. And then there's also a red house, which apparently is where the old man
And the red jacket hangs out too at that one.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's kind of an interesting sort of little parallel to the whole idea that they have going on there. But
It's very much the red ogre and blue ogre,
right.
which in anime you run across regularly as a story. Where the blue ogre is usually the friendly, outgoing personality, and the red ogre is the friends with the red ogre, or I mean with the blue ogre, but not friends with people outside. And
Mhm.
it's a very traditional Japanese story, and they kind of did this. I mean, the irony that Pokemon Red and Green are the first Pokemon games. I almost feel is a nod to Lupin. Because the red and green jackets come from, I believe, season 2 and season 3.
Okay.
I mean, it's a very short film. Those wondering to know
Right.
where they can watch this and other Lupin series and films, Tubi.
Yeah, this one's
Amazon
easy.
has a few of them too.
Mm-hmm.
I think Netflix has one or two, and Crunchyroll.
Right.
But takes on animation.
I actually thought that they did a pretty good job putting a lot of effort into the animation, especially in a lot of the scenes. I thought that the artwork, they had paid particular attention to different styles, different ways of looking at it from, I guess, the point of view of different styles of Lupin. So I thought it was very creative. I really liked it. High quality. To me, it looked high quality.
Right.
Any more there, Chicken?
What happened?
Any more you want to say?
No, I mean, it's a good looking movie. I'll agree with that. I did find it interesting how rough that one scene that we already mentioned was, that black and white scene. I found it kind of interesting the way they decided to do it that way. But it added a bit of, I guess you could say, a little bit of character to the scene.
Yeah, almost an unfinished flare.
Now, correct. Now, I meant to go back and look this up, and I kind of slacked on it. The theme song was a reworking of the theme from Cagliostro, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And then, of course, you have the Lupin theme that's been in most of the productions over the years with slight variations.
I mean, it started with season 1. So, yeah.
I'll give it this. There's no more. Now, the theme from Cagliostro does have a slight 70s feel, but not really. Whereas it feels a little bit more timeless. But the Lupin the Third theme, that is 70s, like to the bone, right there.
But iconic 70s.
No,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, and I love it for it.
Yeah, they're both kind of iconic in their
Song
own.
that was played, and it kind of reminded me of the voice of Karen Carpenter, except in I would say in Japanese, you know. So,
Right. But yeah, I definitely love both themes. And I think overall the background music was pretty solid. You know, the general use of music was solid.
it's hard for me to listen to background music when I'm reading something.
Right.
It's got the Lupin iconic music. There's not like an additional piece that I'd give like hard yes to on this, because it doesn't seem like they created anything new other than just sort of updated former tunes. I'm trying to remember if I heard anything that was a little bit different in the later ones, but it doesn't really stick out.
It's not like, say, Cutie Honey, where they really do try to update that with every rendition.
I still stand by the live action Cutie Honey is
that's my
the
favorite
best opener.
Yeah.
Um,
Even though they're all the same technically, but there is a slight difference in each one. You can tell it, which is great.
but yeah, I mean, I definitely the animation, like I've pointed out a few times. Yeah, they at the beginning they stylize each Lupin to look different. They kind of shortcut it a few times in the middle, where it's all just the same hand-drawn Lupin. And then yes, you have the sketchy animation, which was the thing in the 2008 when it came out. To sort of do, because I noted One Piece because it happened around the same time. Not Fish Island. The scene in the slave auction that stands as one of the greatest fist punches of all time in anime. They did that. They did the same sketchy, where just all color drops and you just see rapid movement in one moment, and it's a great animation technique.
Mm-hmm.
And here we get in a car chase, which I really love to see on a building. You don't really think of doing a car chase on a skyscraper, but
Nope.
you do it.
Well,
That's
one thing that's
hardcore stuff.
one thing that's a frequent element of Lupin movies going back at least as far as Cagliostro is his off-road driving skills are pretty solid.
His being pretty much all of them.
Since Cagliostro, Lupin's driven a Fiat. That is the iconic car that he drives. And he has a P38, I believe is the
Go
type of gun he wears.
racer.
I believe you are correct.
Oh
yeah,
so
I gotta love this scene where Jigen was showing the little kids how to properly care for their guns.
A Walther P38.
Jacob, you need to see Zero. You need to see Zero with young teenage Jigen and Lupin smoking and handling a pistol.
That's kind of cool though. I mean, in Jigen's main gun has always been the same, but
yeah, he's always been a cult man.
But he's used other guns. But yeah, that's always been his main gun.
Yeah. So I mean, there are I mean, you always have Goemon, upset that he has to cut something, because he feels it's not deserving enough.
I've cut another worthless thing.
And then you always have Fujiko being, well, usually in the arms of a villain. I want to say she was on the plane, but I don't think she was. No, she was. She was, because he does mention her by name.
But she's
Fujiko
definitely all about the treasure.
Oh, she's always all about the treasure. She's.
I swear she would have probably boned the one Lupin if the ice cube had really been a diamond.
And it's almost not a Lupin movie unless Fujiko changes size at least twice.
She will never bone Lupin. It's an ongoing gag. That he will never have her, but she will always entice Lupin for her treasure. It's just her personality.
Yeah.
She's very much the femme fatale, but a little bit more clinging on whoever has the treasure.
Actually, I wonder, other than just the obvious wordplay, I wonder if Venture Brothers was making a Fujiko reference with the character Molotov cocktease.
Well, in a way, Fujiko definitely inspired a lot of femme fatale anime characters.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
shoot, I wouldn't be surprised if Fujiko was a huge inspiration for Faye and Cowboy Bebop, especially
definitely.
considering
I have no doubt.
the director's fandom of.
She's more competent than Faye.
Well, yeah,
She is. Because Fujiko would have a plan to get out of the situation.
but also Faye has more of a heart than her too. So
this is true. And it may be what works to Fujiko's advantage that she can walk away from almost anything except treasure.
I mean, Fujiko actually almost has Nabiki's mentality money-wise.
She is, yeah. I kind of do feel a lot of Nabiki Tendo's greedy tendency, which, damn it, Netflix, you better get Nabiki right. I know we're 2 weeks away from the new Rama.
It'll matter to me more if they can actually get farther story-wise than the original anime did.
If they succeed, I mean, it drops on the 5th, and we're on the 25th right now on September.
No, it
drops on the 5th of October.
It's Netflix. It'll only get 2 seasons.
Well, I don't know, because it's Netflix, but Netflix isn't the one producing this. It's being produced by another studio. Netflix got the rights for it. So it may have a chance at more seasons. Plus, Netflix does see a lot of return on anime. So they're more willing to let an anime run. Versus some of the TV shows they put out.
Right. Yeah. Although it's hit or miss. If they get hit with the toxic fandom blowback that they have with certain shows that led to immediate cancellation, but
there are people that are pissed at censoring, but I don't think you could put out the Ranma we had in current day.
I think that it's I think you couldn't put out the Ranma that we have in current day on Netflix, and you definitely couldn't have it as a wide release.
That's the problem. It's on freaking Disney Plus.
Yeah, you could definitely not do that on Disney Plus.
The original Ranma you can watch on Disney Plus. I was like floored when I saw that.
That's hilarious. I'll have to do that on principle.
I will never pay for Disney Plus.
I only got into almost all of the streaming because Verizon let me do a package deal with almost all of them. I do hate that the Hulu subscription, I cannot get rid of the ads. And it's like, I'm willing to pay you more to not give me ads.
You can't
even pay I went with the one with ads because I don't give a shit and I don't want to pay more just to get rid of it.
Go in now. You get their Disney benefit bundle, and it gives you Hulu with ads.
Speaking of ads, you can actually watch this particular one on Tubi for free with ads.
Really? This?
Yes. Yes, that's how I watch this.
Which is why I didn't provide y'all with the usual, I got this taken care of for y'all.
There's actually a lot of old series on Tubi. Some that I did not expect to be on anime. Because I saw Angel Cop on there, and I was like, "Wow, that's an '80s anime."
I see. And I found out that Excel Saga is streaming on Crunchyroll, and the DVDs are actually going for about $25 to $30 for the full season.
It's a well-loved series.
Bad,
it's a well-loved series.
I would have thought it'd been a little more than that. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, I was looking up on eBay moments ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna get it, I would say if you decide to get it on eBay, I would go for the ADV box because for some reason the thin box has been known to have issues.
Oh,
I didn't have any issues with it. I had the thin box, but
I'm talking about like
um,
the actual just not the box set thin, but like the actual like newest release that was actually just one hard case.
okay, I haven't tried that one.
Huh.
Going back to the movie, I do want to make a short nod to the voice acting, even though this is subbed. I am impressed that they brought in different voice actors for all the Lupins.
Right.
This would have been a nightmare if they had Tony Oliver try and do all those Lupins in the dub. Because Tony Oliver you recognize his voice. He doesn't have a large range of voice acting. It's kind of like watching Teacher Ozumuka.
They should have had an English, like a Lupin that spoke only English and used the English dub voice for that one, just to add.
It would have been nice. But I mean, there are a large collection of Lupin projects that do not have the dub. But I mean, it's fine. You're talking endless amount of episodes and films and OVAs. It gets out of hand after a time.
Yeah, apparently Kanichi Kurata, who plays, I guess, Lupin Red, apparently his whole career, from the look of it, is playing Lupin. And he's had a lot of appearances in the role. A lot.
Well, I mean, it's been Yasuna Yamada at the start.
Mm-hmm.
And then Yukio Nikaido as Fujiko from the start. Goro Naga as Zenigata. I think he played the role in this film, but I know Zenigata eventually changed.
Goro Naya is Zenigata in this version, yes.
I do believe he passed a few years ago. And so different Zenigata now.
We have Eiko Masayama as Fujiko, which, let's see if I can figure out where she picked up the role, because you're right, it wasn't right away. She's played Fujiko for many years, including Cagliostro.
I know Goemon has been the same for years, and I think he died in 15. So he's changed. Yeah.
And Kiyoshi Kobayashi is Daisuke Jigen. Aya Hirano joins the cast as Yukiko. And Kenichi Ogata is Oyaji, who I guess would be the old man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's interesting coming into something because America really didn't get Lupin much.
Right.
I can say from my experience with cons before Cartoon Network got Lupin, there was maybe like 4 movies. Castle Cagliostro was, of course, the #1 film that people got here in the U.S. It is stated, and I always like quoting this, Cagliostro is one of Steven Spielberg's favorite films. That he holds to it as one of the greatest films of all time.
Makes sense.
So to get a nod from an infamous director.
Well, Spielberg and Miyazaki do have a lot of similar sensibilities. They're both really into imagination and fantasy, and they're really good at making films that appeal to the masses while still having what you might call artistic merit.
And it's very odd to say Lupin with artistic merit, considering Monkey Punch,
Right.
the creator.
But you do still get some of those Miyazaki vibes from Cagliostro. Like he was essentially a journeyman director with that film, but he did manage to put his stamp on it. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
he wanted to put the death stamp on Lupin. like Miyazaki is always. That's the thing I always. I respect Miyazaki's work. Miyazaki as an individual has some opinions that are like, ugh. Like,
I mean,
what, you watched an anime one time? That's it.
He
No,
has
you don't need more than
opinions.
one movie in an anime. I mean, that's all you need. Don't revisit stuff.
I mean, the dude hated CGI films, then developed one of, in my opinion, the worst CGI films.
Well, in all fairness, it was his son.
Right.
It was Goro.
Right.
Yes, but he still hated CGI.
Oh, I'm sure that he also hated that film.
Miyazaki.
I hate the hell out of that film.
It's probably my least favorite of all the Ghibli films. And I had to wonder, but I could see him just doing this thing. Goro, I would say I'm disappointed in you, but I've already said it many times already. So,
For those who don't know, we're talking about Earwig and the Witch.
which,
And it's
if you
which
look
is-
at the Lupin CGI film, the quality level is like off the charts comparatively.
Japan's hit or miss with CGI.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people poo-pooed on the Trigun remake really badly,
Right.
even though it is jaw-dropping CGI work, in my opinion.
It's on my list
A
eventually.
lot of it depends, I think, on like sometimes you'll see it very, very, very well incorporated, and sometimes and of course they use it a lot, in traditional animation too. They'll use CGI, and I think Miyazaki actually did allow some CGI in The Boy and the Heron. If I'm not mistaken, he experimented himself, finally decided to experiment with it, but it's not overwhelming. I've seen movies where the movie Fireworks, the CGI was awful in that movie. It was a decent movie overall.
I've had episodes of Let Her Look cut because I'd call out the horrible CGI on them. I literally have them restricted because I called them out.
Huh.
I wouldn't even show anything, and they'd axe me on that stuff.
Yeah.
Japan is getting better because I will say Kaiju number 8 uses a lot of CGI, and it was well done, mixed in with the animation they did do. So yeah, it's getting better, but at the same time, there's still some anime that it glares in your face how bad it is.
Right.
I mean, there was that one that, gosh, I can't think of the name of the series. It was a series about an idol girl that I was really into for a while. It was Morning Musume was the band behind it, and I cannot think of the actual name of the series because it's been so long.
Was that Kira?
Yes, Kira Revolution. I love that series, and then they went all CG, and it was horrible CG, and I was just like, "Oh God, no, terrible."
We got CG in this film.
Yeah.
It was okay for the time, but I mean, it's still at the time it was still amateurish for American standards, but for Japan it was okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, at the same time, I'd say we had Gantz at the same time which had some CGI.
And again, and again, Lupin the Third versus Cat's Eye, there was clearly CGI used in that, but it wasn't distracting. Like it was clear that they used it, but it wasn't bad. You know.
Now we also need Lupin the Third versus Cinderella Boy.
Yeah, when CGI starts to look like clip art animation,
that's when it's bad. I mean, I literally called out a series because they not only did CGI, but the animation was literally drag and drop. So I was like, what are you? And this was the first episode. So this was supposed to sell the series.
Oh.
I was like, what the hell?
Like when I watched a version of, this isn't Japanese animation, but a version of Puss in Boots with the voice of William Shatner.
Oh God, that movie was awful.
That was worth watching just because of the voice, though.
I'm debating whether
I need to see it. I need to see that.
It's just like the Polly Shore Pinocchio. It's worth watching at least once.
I see Netflix brought out Grave of the Fireflies. Just the heartwarming feeling anime that is.
Yes. The children's
anime of the year.
They didn't market as children's movies, and I was like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah, they did.
Oh, yeah, but that was. I think we cover it. I know it was covered in some movies before.
Yeah,
but I mean, I know that was covered on there. And that was the reason, because it's a propaganda film to show Japanese youth you need to be responsible, and if you're not responsible and conforming, you're going to end up dead like these two children. Which is a good message to teach your youth. But
absolutely.
For kids.
But yeah, that was.
We kind of touched upon music already. So there's not really any more to talk about that. I guess we pretty much should start to wrap up here, and let's say, name your favorite color that you saw Lupin in.
All right.
And favorite scene.
Ooh, let me start.
Here.
I like
you like the pink?
Pink Jacket Lupin is the coolest. And favorite scene. Oh God, I did like when he was watching Castle Cagliostro, or listening to the soundtrack actually. But I actually did. I like that scene where they're all the Lupins are reacting to the fact that one had been nabbed for shoplifting, and they're all just so pissed off, and they do a mass migration. I thought that was actually great.
Right.
David?
I think I'm gonna go with the banana yellow jacket. My favorite color. And favorite scene is definitely when they all get mad at the shoplifting Lupin, and it's like a mass congregational thing. Oh, you're surrounded. You're arrested. And honestly, it gives the real Lupin on a good getaway reason. So,
yeah. Jacob?
I gotta go with the classic red, I guess. To me, that's like the quintessential Lupin look. If I had to, I got to admit that one scene where they were all reacting to the guy getting nabbed for shoplifting, I got to agree that was brilliant. But my favorite scene has to be Daisuke Jigen teaching proper gun care to little children. That just, it's not right. I loved it.
Especially in Japan where guns are banned.
It just reminds me of years ago, there was this nature video that my brother had gotten a hold of that was about the giant bird-eating spiders in South America. and they were talking to this medicine man from this local village, and they apparently like do this ritual where they intake the venom as sort of a they hallucinate by I think it's like they boil, not boil, but like they like do the vapors and like inhale the vapors of the venom, and it causes hallucinations and whatnot. And at one point they translate the man saying something like, we must teach the young people of this village to take this drug. And it just, the way he said it, we always cracked up about that. But I was reminded of that. I'm like, we must teach the youth to properly use these weapons of it just made me crack up. But yes, the scene where they were all pissed that one of their number was nabbed for shoplifting of all things, that was a close second. That was
For me, it's definitely Red. Red suited Lupin is the classic Lupin. So, and it's enjoyable. The scene was actually when Jigen was flying in Red Suit Lupin in the car on a Zeppelin and busting into a skyscraper with a car.
yeah.
That is just pure Lupin right there.
Lupin Red was definitely the red herring that got to get us to believe that that was the definite real Lupin, because he was the closest thing to the real Lupin in the movie, even though the real one was the old man the whole time.
Yeah.
Right. Who did live in Red House, or not live, but like that was his home base.
I mean, I would not be surprised, because we're literally talking in the next 2 years to see a 60th anniversary Lupin something.
Yeah.
Did they do a 50th one?
They did. It was. I'm trying to remember here.
Wasn't that the year that the versus the City Hunter? Wasn't that, when did that one come out?
It could have been the City Hunter. Angel Dust. That was 2023, so it was before. It's before the 50th. 50th anniversary. Lupin is Still Burning was created.
There's so many Lupin things that have never made their way over here. But whenever as they come out with them, I will continue to nab them for the collection.
Mm-hmm.
It's the junk food of anime. It's always there, and I have not been disappointed by a Lupin. I really haven't.
Oh,
I mean, even the tie-in ones. I really wanted to see if somebody ever has the Detective Conan versus Lupin. I know I have a copy.
I have all of the specials that they've done.
Means not legal. But considering you're talking two massive franchises teaming up there, along with the City Hunter would be an interesting one. I haven't seen that one. The Cat's Eye, no. I don't feel Cat's Eye was a big series for a combined total. Versus Conan and City Hunter.
It wasn't as big, that's for sure.
I would like to
still
see
pretty sizable. I have the Nozomi release of Cat's Eye, and it's what is it? 50?
I know Cat's Eye is on Prime. You can watch it on Prime.
But am I remember correctly? I feel like that's about 50 episodes. It's a good chunk, but it was sort of a one and done. It didn't keep going and going and going like Lupin did.
Yeah.
But they did show up in the City Hunter movie, and then, like I said, they had the crossover with Lupin. So they're still around. It's just not as massive by any means.
Monkey Punch did other things than Lupin. It's just they're not as well known.
Monkey Punch
that
had
one, Cinderella Boy.
very little influence in Lupin. Even though he created it. He created it in 1967. He did a few, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I think just, no, 4. Yeah, 4 spin-offs.
He mostly did the
Manga-wise.
manga, but
I mean, he created the original, and he did 4 spin-offs with that. But it was one of those properties that anime saw would be a regular cash grab, and it still is. It's one of the big cash grabs of anime. I don't want to say as big as Pokemon as a cash grab, but it's iconic like Pokemon. I know during the Tokyo Olympics, I believe Lupin was one of the characters they had featured at the Olympics. Because the Tokyo Olympics did something where they featured different notable anime characters involved in a sport. So you had stuff like Sailor Moon was the acrobatics. I think Goku was weightlifting. Luffy was for the boat ride or boat competitions. So I mean, you had iconic characters, and I believe Lupin was in the list too. I think it would have been the shooting events and the Olympics.
I've got the 2 Lupin versus Conan ones, the movie and the special. I find it interesting that Detective Conan has had a lot of movie releases here with characters that they never got to because they stopped physically releasing the anime after 150 episodes.
They've released all of the anime in sub on stuff like Crunchyroll.
Yeah,
they've never released physical.
I only count it if it's physical.
They have released the subs for a good chunk. I think they may be missing a gap, but yeah, it's disappointing. Given it's a lot of filler in Detective Conan. So.
Well, I mean, the series goes on forever. I mean, it's I think one of the few series that's longer than One Piece.
Barely. It's about a year difference on the 2.
But that one's not showing any signs of going away either. So, man,
it's not getting as much of attention these days, mainly because they've been. I hate to use the word, but it's cock blocking the audience from continuing the story. They're not. It's like we know the cause, we know the people behind it. They just haven't gotten to that point.
Poor Detective Conan, he's never going to get back to where he was again.
Right.
He never is.
He's already aged up to his old teenage years by this point.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the Funimation dub, but they did kind of butcher it a little bit.
I would still love to see them go ahead and do a physical release for. You could do them like 100 and some episode chunks like they had for the. I remember in One Piece, Amazon did that. They did like a couple of box sets that were 100 and some episode chunks. And
but the difference is you're talking the #1 series in the world for anime, and versus a series that is well loved, but not as well loved in the world.
Yeah, that would be like if they spent Days of Our Lives on a complete series set.
Which one?
Days of Our Lives.
That would be a massive. That would be a massive set. But
when did that start? In the 40s?
There would be people wanting it. Well, no, not that far back, but let's see here.
It had to be the 50s then. It's a long-running series.
That series, Detective Conan, been going since 1994. Jesus.
Yeah. Okay, so more than a year. My mistake.
So Days of Our Lives started in 65. And wow, 14.9K episodes.
Yeah.
Just that? I'd expect a lot more for a series since 1960s.
Wow.
and I imagine that they went through some of the same trouble Dark Shadows had when they were trying to put all the different episodes together in like
Dude,
collections over
that
time.
was a soap that went for
They
like
had to
4
go
years.
into people's private collections just to get the negatives of some of that shit.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Now, One Piece.
Brandon,
is
you
gonna
have a
to-
complete Shadows, didn't you?
Yes, I do. I have the. I
I
have the
got
good
it
old
too.
coffin
Yeah,
box.
but he cheated. He got the complete coffin set.
Hey,
I-
it's an awesome set.
No, I cheated. I got it for cheap.
So I will say this: One Piece may one day triple this, but right now the longest running anime is Saze-san,
It's not gonna pass Saze-san.
which is
It's
right
not gonna
now
pass
at,
Doraemon either.
which is right now over 7,000 episodes. I figure One Piece
Wow.
can do 14,000 without too much trouble.
No, it's not gonna do 14,000.
But
It's-
it might go over 9,000.
Actually, though,
No.
I could see it
No,
get
it's not
to-
gonna go over 9,000 either.
Actually, I could
It's-
see it get to 3,000, which is what Doraemon is up right now. Because it's
It's not
already
gonna
what
get to
almost
3.
2,000
I,
episodes
it's
right now.
trust me, I know Oda's build up and Toei also is gonna be running into an issue where they want to keep the same voice cast all the way through as much as they can.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
And-
that was wrong. One Piece is only at 119 episodes. 1,119 episodes.
119 episodes.
Yeah, so they
Yes.
might get 2,000, maybe.
They may get 2,000, but that's a stretch.
Yeah,
That's a stretch from where they're at.
because they're up to, they're well into Wano, right? As far as the anime?
No, they're in Egghead now. They're in
Oh,
Egghead
okay.
now
So they're
with
past-
anime
Okay.
because I'm watching it.
So what they're gonna do is they'll find the One Piece, and then they'll start a whole new adventure, and
Oh.
then we'll get to start as a new one with the same crew but different voice actors as they.
No, we'll have a Perudo. We'll
Yes.
have whatever Luffy's child's named.
Yeah. I still love the theory. I love the fan theory that my colleague came up with, that the star of Comey can't communicate is in fact the One Piece.
No,
I
I'm
love that.
judging by the fan theory that Zoro was wherever the One Piece is. Zoro's been there.
Oh yeah. No, I believe that absolutely. I believe Zoro has been there. He's probably been there since he started going with Luffy.
It's well voted upon that Zoro will find the One Piece before anybody else, because he'll just randomly end up there.
But just to say that even if you put all the Lupin specials and movies, it wouldn't get even to halfway through One Piece.
No,
All right.
no, it's because you break it up over years and decades. So
But
overall, I have to say, I mean, to close this sort of off, Lupin's a series that is enjoyable pretty much almost any time. And just if you want slapstick funny, go with the earlier stuff. If you want a little more character driven, but still some slapstick funny, go with the newer stuff. So
Yeah.
with the exception being, say, Castle Cagliostro, which is far more serious than it has a right to
it's
be.
pretty much an anime must watch.
Yeah. Cagliostro still has a lot of that slapstick funny stuff to it. Like I was amazed. I tried watching it with people that I thought wouldn't get into it, and they thought it was too crazy.
Childish.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's Lupin, and Lupin himself is not an overly serious character. He can be serious, but even it's sort of like City Hunter as well. City Hunter and Lupin are not that different in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's, they are serious characters when they need to be, but they're also very goofy characters in their quirks and ways of
Which is
doing
why I
things.
stand by the Jackie Chan film. I really do. I love that film.
They're kind of fun characters to follow. I would definitely, and I am glad that that series like say City Hunter had found new life, and I'm glad that Discotheque has been re-releasing Lupin, though they're only releasing them in small quantities on disc, which aggravates me.
Yeah.
I really
It
think
used to be, I think it was Anime Ego used to have them for the Lupin. It's really hard
Well,
to say because it right after Cartoon Network started airing it,
yeah.
I think it switched hands.
Anything,
they gained
anything,
season
and
2, and they could just air that because it was so many
Well,
episodes.
after the
anything,
Hanna-Barbera era, things definitely started to filter out.
anything Animego has always been in limited quantities. Like
Yeah.
that's what they do. They put a lot of effort and energy into doing a release for the fans, and then they move on to the next. That's pretty much their MO. Which who knows? I'm still waiting on my Macross set that I'm getting from them, but we'll
That's supposed
see.
to be out next week.
Yeah.
Theoretically,
And it's Macross, not Robotech, correct?
Macross
Right.
Plus. Macross
Yeah.
Plus.
Right.
Oh, Macross Plus?
Yeah, the
That's a
Macross
different
Plus
series.
OVA
That's
and
different. Yeah.
movies. So
Hmm.
you know, I mean,
I
ADV.
enjoyed Macross Plus. It was
A lot of these series, a lot of these
short, but
anime has kind of imploded really these days as far as physical releases, and there's also a lot of it, but I feel like we're going to go through quite a crash eventually if it hasn't already started.
I mean, we're looking at about to go into the fall season here in 2024, and there's 60 anime coming out this season. A lot of them are sequels,
Right.
but they're sequels to really good series. ReZero's season 3 coming out. I am on my edge to watch that. You know, the Rama 1/2 remake we talked about is coming out.
Mhm.
Couple other really good stuff coming out this season, and it's gonna be like, how much time do I have to watch this?
Well, I guess with that, was there anything else we had to talk about with Lupin?
Not with Lupin. We do have to address next month.
No anime Anticlimax next month. Technically, Roger is taking over the next 3 months, though. We will find out if he is going to give us an anime for November. If not, we can always throw out Dave's idea for a series. So we will be back at the end of November.
And we can choose a live action, like we said.
Yeah, I mean, I won't be available at the end of October, but if y'all did something, you'd have to figure out how to upload it to the channel. But hey, Dave could. Dave could lead it. Yeah, y'all could have a anime Anticlimax discussion at the end of October, and Dave could lead it because he still has the keys to the StreamYard.
Kingdom.
But yeah, it's but I think that this has gone well. We went a little bit off base, but that's okay because the movie goes off base.
Oh yeah,
So it's
eat McDonald's.
yes. So as far as things go, I mean, if you haven't already checked out the links below, you should for Brittany, or I don't know, for the channel. It's very good. You also should be checking out the comics and Ninja Blade.
Demon Blade.
Demon Blade. Sorry.
Demon Blade and Witchin. Both are getting some fandom. Witchin's pretty getting up there quicker, more. And the channel is on a hiatus while we upgrade everything. I'm half tempted to do a $6,000 computer build with a professional setup.
I want to see more of those the farming videos.
The Stardew Valley?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll probably be doing some more Stardew. Unfortunately, we've been having internet issues. I think I got them fixed, but it's between me and Verizon, and it's been a mess.
And of course, if you haven't seen Dave lately, well, that's sad, but hopefully we'll get him back for more in the future. But he runs Delusions of Grandeur and Inside Movies Galore, and you'll see Jake and I on Inside Movies Galore. And Brittany has occasionally guested on the show every Sunday for Delusions and every Monday for Inside Movies Galore. There's movie discussion. Matter of fact, this past week we are still working on our Animals Attacks series, and we covered Food of the Gods, which we'll be covering next week, right after the Versus Awards. We'll be covering on Dave's channel, Monkey Shines. So that's going to be a fun way to end that Animals Attack series.
Good
but
times.
For those of you on the channel that do like this channel, all 5 of you, I would encourage you on Monday to tune in for the Versus Awards. I am continuing to edit. Most of the people here have been watching me do it as I go. And I think it's going to be a really good show once we get it all together. It's going to debut on the, it's going to do a premiere, which will be on Monday, the 30th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, after that, you can watch it anytime you want because it'll stick there for a while. But you should check and see who won the awards this year. We had an interesting run and a very interesting winner for Best Picture. Might not be the one you think.
Indeed.
So check it out as on this Monday. But did y'all have anything else that y'all wanted to say or plug before we leave?
No, I'm good.
Yep.
All right.
On Delusions of Grandeur, we'll be doing a film this Sunday in the Ring franchise. So stay tuned for that.
The Ring or Ringu?
It's Ringu Kazanban. It's from 1995.
Yeah, that's that.
And I guess it's more truer to the novel source than anything else. So it'll be my first time watching that.
That one's included in the Ringu box set, if I believe correctly.
I believe so. You said Ryson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
But,
I remember getting that and watching them all in one go one night.
They were pretty
That's a
solid
mistake.
films. Yeah.
The Japanese ones are actually really good. And there is an American one that has Ring 2, and Rings.
Yeah.
So and I'll say there's at least one really good film in that.
Yeah. I never saw Rings. Ring 2 has nothing to do with the Japanese Ringani. Nothing.
That could have been a good thing. They could have done really good writing.
Yeah.
And they could have done really good acting, which they did so with that. But they could have made it better. But no.
It's kind of like how the relationship that the movies Jurassic Park and the Lost World had with the books Jurassic Park and the Lost World. The first one's a pretty good adaptation, and the second one has nothing to do with the book.
Raptors were different sized in the book.
In all honesty, I do believe that there are different aspects of the book that are somewhat talked about in Lost World, and Jurassic Park 3 included the pterodactyl cage from the original novel.
Well, I mean, they took elements, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
just like The Ring 2 has some of the same elements.
I'm just one of those people who will probably be like, well, technically.
Oh man,
I will
I'm not
never
sure.
finish Jurassic Park the novel.
I'm still waiting for the Jurassic Park horror miniseries that I've wanted to see for years, where they go
Getting
back.
Jurassic Park for kids now.
Well,
What's that?
technically, if you want to, on PlayStation, if you have PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5, you'll be able to purchase the digital copy of Dino Crisis, as they finally brought the original that over. So if you really want to see dinosaur horror,
Jurassic Park horror.
Yeah. It's too bad you can't really buy it. There's no physical release of it, but Limited Run may one day re-release it on physical now that it's actually available. And you never know, with them re-releasing the Lunar 1 and 2 collection this spring. I mean, that's I didn't think that was.
I don't know if I want to spend money on that again.
Huh.
I spent it way too many times.
I might do it because the second one's been a lot harder to get anywhere else digitally. So, it might be. But I imagine I'll be seeing that in Suikoden 1 and 2 because they come out the same. They both come out in March.
Suikoden is a definite worth buy.
So I'm probably just going to be sitting there playing that for the next 3 or 4 months, just doing nothing but playing that. But with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this rambling discussion. But I think it was in the spirit of the film.
Yeah.
Right.
So next time we get together, we'll either be doing something that Roger has recommended, maybe Dave, maybe somebody else. We'll get somebody on there. We'll get something to talk about.
Right.
But until then, enjoy the spooky season. Watch some great anime. As a matter of fact, right before we go off, I'm just going to run down real quick and say, go to each of you if you have an anime Halloween recommendation. Well, let's start with Jake because Jake probably has nothing Halloween or horror related that he put out.
Well, really?
Just
now,
maybe a fall romantic comedy.
No, I will say anime by nature is light on the Halloween stuff. And we've already covered a lot of it, either with this channel. Like one of the first things we did was Higurashi When They Cry. I know on Dave's channel, we've already covered Mermaid Scar, and I believe we did the Laughing Target on that discussion.
I mean, we can pinpoint where Japan got Halloween through anime.
Yeah.
It was Cowboy Bebop the movie that introduced Halloween.
No, I disagree. It was on the TV show when they had to fight the lobster.
What, the Toys in the Attic episode?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the concept of Halloween was established in Cowboy Bebop the movie.
If I were just picking one, though, I would say if you haven't already watched Mermaid Scar, you probably should.
That's a good horror one, yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
What about you, Brittany? Do you have
a proper release for it to be on physical media? But
you can find Mermaid Scar, I think,
on VHS
through one of the.
You can find bootlegs or VHS. Yeah.
I mean, even digital. I mean, I think you can find it on like Tubi or Prime. You can find that one.
There's never been a proper American release, but I'm sure there've been bootleg releases on those.
Oh, you're talking about the TV series.
No. The TV series did get a proper release.
Yeah, they did get a Blu-ray release out of print.
The movie came out through Viz.
Yeah, it did have a physical release, but it was
on VHS only.
Release.
It's never had a physical or official digital release stateside that I know.
But this is why we need Discotech to get on there and go ahead and get those put out. Though I've heard Rumiko Takahashi does not want any of those features ever released again.
Because she wants to be remembered more for her romantic comedy, which is understandable.
Yeah. Makes
But
sense.
so how about you, Brittany? Is there a particular anime that people should watch for the spooky season in absence of this?
I mean, we've done Hellsing last year. I'm going to say I'll give two. One is horror and one non-horror. Horror-wise, you can't go wrong with Vampire Hunter D.
Oh.
Very classic, 80s bloody, gory anime. Non-horror-wise, and I'm sort of rewatching it, Little Witch of Academia. It's on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
You got no excuse not to watch that series.
It's great. Bless your cat.
I guess I should probably to cite one that we haven't covered on this channel or Dave's channel yet, but that I want to see us cover one of these days. There are absolutely some horror elements to The Promised Neverland. And that is the first season is absolutely a classic. The second season, from what I hear, not as much. But
Read the manga.
The manga
I honestly say avoid the anime. Read the manga.
Yeah.
So what about
really good?
What about you, Dave? Do you know of any like spooky anime that you'd recommend to people?
Well, I wouldn't mind checking out Tokyo Ghoul. I think that's one, right?
That is one, yes.
But
the first season's popular.
One that I know we've covered on one channel or the next that I will always return to is Lily Cat.
That definitely is horror. I will give it that.
If you want an alien-wise movie, yes.
So that's one that I always return to as far as anime. If you want to tune into something spooky for Halloween, not necessarily that we'll cover it because we might have actually covered it on. I think we might have actually covered it in the very beginning of your anime Aniplex.
Did you guys cover it before?
Don't ever use that name here. Aniplex is. But yeah, it's an interesting series. It's an interesting movie.
Anticlimax, anime Anticlimax series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The for me, I always recommend Kakarumbo because I just I like that one. It's cute. It's short. It's got a little bit of tension to it, which is fun. It is a little bit early CG, but I still say that it's got a lot of cool darkness to it. And
Danganronpa is a good one too.
Danganronpa,
at least the first one.
Stories is legendary though.
Oh yeah, those stories. Yeah, that's got an interesting, but only in the dub.
Do not watch the sub of that series. You will be disappointed.
I mean, if you want one to,
the dub is classic.
And if you want an episode of this channel, you could watch for a Halloween one. You could definitely watch the episode discussion of Gregory Horror Show, which can definitely.
We've done Horror Show, we've done Hellsing, and we've done
horror.
Yeah.
Ghost Stories too, haven't we?
Yes.
Now, if you want one,
I believe that I put forward.
If you want one that traditionally feels like an American horror series, I would recommend Another. That one is very much like that. Matter of fact, it pretty much is Final Destination, the anime. And then, of course, if you want something that's really fun for Halloween, it's got action elements and a little bit of strangeness, I would say Soul Eater. That one's
yeah. And we've covered another, talking about fun. We have also covered Karine.
Yes, Karine. I mentioned it before. ReZero, if you want horror.
That boy's power is very upsetting.
I need to see.
I would put as fun High School of the Dead.
High School of the Dead is that is something.
Actually, am I correct in remembering ReZero, I think, is one of the four in Isekai Quartet, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
and you got
That's the happy end of Subaru.
we've done Konosuba, but
We've done Konosuba. Well,
but
we've
I
done-
believe
We've done up to the movie of Konosuba. We've
Isn't
not hit the movie, and we've not hit the
Right.
third and the spinoff.
Well, I mean, like as far as the shows in that quartet, isn't Konosuba like the odd man out that the others are all kind of horror-ish or horror adjacent?
Well,
They're horror
Overlord
elements.
has odd elements to it.
Yeah.
Then there is the one, the evil.
Tanya
which
is
they
the
only-
evil.
Tanya
She only got one season though for that one, and
Tanya's not horror. Tanya's just disturbing.
Okay.
And Overlord is not horror.
Okay.
It's just the main character's a skeleton.
Okay.
So
I-
ReZero is horror. Having a power that's basically the restart button. It's just absolutely devastating, and seeing what Subaru has to go through. Hell, one of the openings just shows him dying over and over again.
Speaking of hell, we do need to cover Hell Girl one of these days.
Yeah.
That would be a good, and that's a good Halloween season.
And if you want one that's horrific, you could redo Healer.
Yeah, I am pissed that's coming a second season.
Yep, that'll be interesting to watch. I've watched the first season, so I'll check out the second.
You can watch it. I ain't watching it unless you draw it up, and I'll be pissed if you draw it up.
We're gonna do a happy-go-lucky series about some
I will be living trauma.
So
with that
it's
series.
very
along
family-friendly.
along that train of thought, I believe School Days fits into that, doesn't it?
Well, School Days. is
Yeah,
traumatic to
yeah.
watch. There's some very traumatic series out there.
Yeah.
Those definitely count.
Okay.
But still, But that gives you some anime to watch
Yeah.
while we're on Anime Anticlimax hiatus.
Mhm.
But don't worry, we'll be back in November, and we'll be stronger than ever with
Yeah.
whatever it is that we decide to run with. Like I said, whether Roger decides that yes, I am going to come in and do, or whether we go from a different spot, we will definitely have something. And I'm going to make sure that before we even get to the start of November, that we have something in place.
Yeah.
So we can have some fun with that, because if we can get it like by the middle of the month, we might even be able to do a somewhat longer series. Not like long, but like at least the 26 episode range we
Right.
probably hit, because we could start that sometime in October and then get done long before the end of November. So
Oh yeah.
Theoretically. Yeah.
we could do Lupin the Third season 1.
I need to watch
Season 1, yes. Season 2, no.
No,
definitely need to watch my copy.
Season
of
2 would have to be done in like several parts.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But with that saying said, I hope you all have enjoyed this. If you have, click that like button, click that subscribe, and of course share. Definitely join us on Monday for the Versus Awards. I will be there in the chat, yammering away like a madman. And other than that, we will see you all on the next episode.
All right.
Later.